Opening hook. Most people never fail because they lack talent. They fail because they are distracted. Distracted by opinions. Distracted by comparison. Distracted by people who have no intention of helping them succeed. The truth is simple. The moment you stop focusing on everyone else and start focusing entirely on yourself, your life changes. Your confidence grows. Your discipline strengthens. Your results multiply. This audiobook is about eliminating distractions, building mental toughness, and becoming so focused on your own growth that nothing, no criticism, no setback, no obstacle can stop you. Today you stop watching. You stop waiting. You stop seeking approval. And you start becoming unstoppable. Chapter 1. Stop watching other people's lives. Look around. Most people are not living their lives. They are watching someone else's. They wake up and immediately check what everyone else is doing. They scroll through updates. They watch videos. They study strangers. They monitor friends. They compare houses, cars, vacations, relationships, careers, and lifestyles. Then they wonder why they feel stuck. Then they wonder why they feel behind. Then they wonder why they feel unhappy. The answer is simple. Their eyes are in the wrong place. Their path is not your path. Remember that. Their path is not your path. One person starts a business at 22. Another starts at 45. One person becomes wealthy early. Another succeeds after years of struggle. One person finds opportunity immediately. Another builds it brick by brick. Their path is not your path. Yet every day, people destroy their confidence by comparing their chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. That is a losing game. Because comparison never gives you clarity. It gives you insecurity. It gives you distraction. It gives you doubt. And doubt is expensive. Every minute you spend questioning your journey because of somebody else's results is a minute stolen from your own progress. That's the key. Every minute spent studying others unnecessarily is a minute stolen from your own progress. Think about how much mental energy disappears this way. Hours spent scrolling. Hours spent observing. Hours spent analyzing people who have absolutely no impact on your future. Meanwhile, your goals sit untouched. Your plans remain unfinished. Your potential remains undeveloped. You have a choice. You can spend your life being a spectator. Or you can become a creator. You can consume. Or you can build. You can watch. Or you can work. You have a choice. The modern world profits from your attention. Understand that. Every notification wants your focus. Every platform wants your time. Every headline wants your emotional reaction. The more distracted you become, the less powerful you become. Because attention is a resource. A limited resource. And wherever attention goes, energy follows. Where energy goes, results follow. If your attention constantly belongs to everyone else, your results will belong to no one. Eyes on your mission. Say it again. Eyes on your mission. Most people know exactly what celebrities are doing. They know what influencers are doing. They know what old classmates are doing. But they cannot tell you what they accomplished this week. That is a problem. A serious problem. Because success is not built through observation. Success is built through execution. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't need to know what everyone else thinks. You need to know what you are doing today. That's the key. Consider the talented individual who dreams of becoming a writer. Every day they consume content. They watch videos about writing. They read posts about writing. They study successful authors. They compare themselves to professionals. Months pass. Years pass. And they still haven't written the book. Why? Because consuming feels productive. But creating is productive. There is a difference. A huge difference. The same thing happens with entrepreneurs. They watch business podcasts. They analyze successful founders. They study strategies. They collect information endlessly. But they never launch. Never test. Never risk. Never build. Knowledge without action becomes another form of procrastination. You have a choice. Consume endlessly. Or create relentlessly. The world rewards creators, not observers. Their path is not your path. The danger of comparison goes deeper than wasted time. It changes how you see yourself. You start measuring your worth against somebody else's achievements. You start questioning your abilities. You start believing you are behind. But behind whom? According to whose timeline? According to whose standards? According to whose journey? Their path is not your path. You were not designed to copy another person's story. You were designed to write your own. And the moment you understand this, something powerful happens. Pressure disappears. You stop racing strangers. You stop competing with people who are running entirely different races. You stop living under artificial deadlines. Instead, you focus on improvement. Daily improvement. Consistent improvement. Personal improvement. That's where growth begins. Eyes on your mission. When you sit down to work, work. When you train, train. When you learn, learn. Be where your feet are. Stop splitting your attention between your goals and someone else's life. Every distraction has a cost. Every comparison has a cost. Every unnecessary observation has a cost. And the cost is your future. Most people never calculate that cost. They only notice the symptoms. Low confidence. Low focus. Low motivation. Low discipline. But the cause is often the same. Their attention is scattered. Their focus is divided. Their energy belongs to everybody except themselves. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval to start. You don't need applause to continue. You don't need recognition to improve. Your mission remains your mission whether anybody notices or not. That's the key. The strongest people in the world understand something simple. Results are private before they become public. The work happens in silence. The growth happens in silence. The discipline happens in silence. Long before anybody sees the outcome. Most people want visible success. Few people are willing to commit to invisible effort. Be one of the few. Every morning ask yourself one question. What can I build today? Not what can I watch. Not what can I compare. Not what can I criticize. What can I build today? That question changes everything. Because builders move forward. Observers remain stationary. Builders create momentum. Observers create excuses. Builders focus on their path. Observers become obsessed with someone else's. Their path is not your path. Never forget that. The moment you stop measuring yourself against strangers, you reclaim your power. The moment you stop monitoring everyone else's progress, you accelerate your own. The moment your attention returns home, your future begins to change. Eyes on your mission. Eyes on your mission. Eyes on your mission. This is where unstoppable progress starts. Not with talent. Not with luck. Not with perfect timing. With focus. Pure focus. Directed focus. Disciplined focus. Because every minute spent studying others unnecessarily is a minute stolen from your own progress. And from this day forward, you can choose differently. You can choose to protect your attention. You can choose to protect your energy. You can choose to protect your future. You have a choice. Their path is not your path. Your mission is your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. Stop watching. Start building. Stop comparing. Start creating. Stop observing. Start living. You have taken back your attention. You have stopped wasting energy on other people's journeys. Now it's time to eliminate the next obstacle standing between you and your potential. Chapter 2: The Silent Cost of Seeking Validation. There is a prison that millions of people willingly enter. The door is unlocked. The walls are invisible. Yet they spend their entire lives trapped inside it. That prison is the need for approval. The need to be liked. The need to be accepted. The need to be validated. And most people never realize how much it costs them. They think approval is harmless. They think it is normal. They think it is necessary. But approval is one of the most expensive addictions in life. Because once you become dependent on external validation, you stop living according to your values. You start living according to other people's opinions. That's the key. The moment someone else's approval becomes your source of confidence, you hand them control over your decisions. Your life is not a voting contest. Remember that. Your life is not a voting contest. The problem is not that people have opinions. People will always have opinions. The problem is when those opinions become more important than your purpose. When that happens, everything changes. You stop speaking honestly. You stop taking risks. You stop pursuing dreams. You stop being yourself. You become a performer, a people pleaser, a professional actor in your own life. And the tragedy is that many people spend decades doing it. You have a choice. You can build a life that earns applause, or you can build a life that earns respect. Those are not always the same thing. Many people sacrifice their dreams because they fear criticism. Think about the student who wants to pursue a passion. Maybe they want to become an artist, a musician, an entrepreneur, a creator. But family members disapprove. Friends question the decision. People laugh. People doubt. People criticize. So the dream gets abandoned. Not because it was impossible. Not because it lacked potential. Because approval became more important than purpose. Your life is not a voting contest. Nobody else has to live with the consequences of your decisions. You do. Nobody else wakes up inside your reality. You do. Nobody else carries your regrets. You do. That's why seeking permission from everyone is such a dangerous habit. You don't need their permission. You never did. Consider careers. How many people spend years working jobs they hate because they are afraid of disappointing someone? A parent wanted a certain profession. Society expected a certain title. Friends admired a certain path. So they follow it. Year after year. Promotion after promotion. Salary after salary. Meanwhile, they become exhausted, disconnected, unfulfilled. Why? Because they built a life based on approval instead of alignment. It's not about popularity. It's about integrity. That's the key. Now think about relationships. How many people stay in unhealthy situations because they fear judgment? How many stay silent because they fear rejection? How many pretend to be someone they are not because they want acceptance? The need for approval creates masks. And masks are heavy. The longer you wear them, the harder it becomes to recognize yourself. You have a choice. Wear the mask. Or become the person. Pretend. Or live authentically. Hide. Or grow. Your life is not a voting contest. The same principle applies to entrepreneurship. Most businesses never fail because of criticism. Most ideas never fail because of criticism. Most dreams never fail because of criticism. They fail because people never begin. They become so afraid of what others might say that they never take action. They spend years preparing, planning, researching, waiting. But underneath all those excuses is a deeper fear. What if people judge me? What if people laugh? What if people think I failed? Listen carefully. People will judge you anyway. If you try, they will judge. If you don't try, they will judge. If you succeed, they will judge. If you fail, they will judge. Judgment is unavoidable. That's why basing your decisions on public opinion is a losing strategy. Your life is not a voting contest. You don't need unanimous approval to move forward. You need conviction. That's the key. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to separate feedback from validation. Feedback helps you improve. Validation controls your behavior. Feedback says, "Here is how you can get better." Validation says, "Change yourself so I can approve of you." Those are very different things. Seek wisdom, not approval. Seek growth, not applause. Seek truth, not popularity. You have a choice. Every day, every conversation, every decision. You can ask, "What do people want me to do?" Or you can ask, "What is the right thing to do?" One question creates dependence. The other creates freedom. Most people spend years chasing applause. But applause is temporary. Today they cheer. Tomorrow they criticize. Today they support. Tomorrow they disappear. Today they celebrate. Tomorrow they forget. If your confidence depends on applause, your confidence will constantly rise and fall. That is emotional slavery. Real confidence comes from something stronger. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. It comes from discipline. It comes from action. It comes from self-respect. It's not about approval. It's about self-respect. Repeat that. It's not about approval. It's about self-respect. Because when you respect yourself, something changes. You stop negotiating with your values. You stop abandoning your goals. You stop shrinking yourself to fit inside someone else's expectations. You begin standing taller, thinking clearer, acting stronger. Not because everyone agrees with you, because you agree with yourself. That's the key. The strongest people in the world are not those who receive the most approval. They are those who remain committed to their purpose despite disapproval. They understand a truth that many never learn. External validation is borrowed confidence. Self-respect is owned confidence. Borrowed confidence can disappear overnight. Owned confidence stays with you. Your life is not a voting contest. Stop counting votes. Start building character. Stop chasing approval. Start pursuing purpose. Stop measuring your worth by applause. Start measuring it by action. Every day ask yourself one question. Did I honor my values today? Not, did everyone like me? Not, did everyone approve? Not, did everyone agree? Did I honor my values today? That question will change your life. Because success begins when self-respect becomes more important than applause. The moment that happens, you become dangerous in the best possible way. You become focused, independent, disciplined, unshakable. You stop living for approval. You start living with purpose. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't need their applause. Your mission is bigger than their opinions. Your future is bigger than their approval. Your life is not a voting contest. Never forget that. You have reclaimed your independence from the opinions of others. You no longer need applause to move forward. Now it's time to confront the force that silently destroys more dreams than failure ever could. Chapter 3. Protect your attention like your future depends on it. Your future is being built right now, not tomorrow, not next year. Right now. The question is simple. What is building it? Your habits? Your discipline? Your focus? Or your distractions? Because whether you realize it or not, your attention is creating your future every single day. That's the key. Most people think time is their most valuable resource. It isn't. Attention is. Because you can always make more money. You can often recover lost opportunities. But wherever your attention goes, your life follows. Remember that. Where attention goes, life follows. If your attention is focused on growth, your life moves toward growth. If your attention is focused on excuses, your life moves toward excuses. If your attention is focused on distractions, your life moves toward mediocrity. Where attention goes, life follows. The modern world understands this. That is why everyone is competing for your attention. Apps compete for it. Advertisements compete for it. News competes for it. Social media competes for it. Influencers compete for it. Companies compete for it. Entire industries are built around one goal: capturing your focus, keeping you distracted, keeping you scrolling, keeping you engaged. Because attention has become the most valuable currency on earth, and many people give it away for free. You have a choice. Protect your attention, or surrender it. Guard your focus, or lose your future. Most people never realize how much they are losing. A few minutes here, a few minutes there, an hour scrolling, another hour watching, another hour arguing, another hour consuming. Nothing seems dangerous. Nothing seems serious. Until years pass, and they discover they built nothing, created nothing, achieved nothing, because their attention was never under their control. Where attention goes, life follows. Look at endless scrolling, one of the greatest traps of modern life. A person opens an app for 5 minutes. 30 minutes disappear. Then 60. Then 90. And at the end of it, What have they gained? Very little. Their goals remain untouched. Their projects remain unfinished. Their skills remain undeveloped. Their dreams remain delayed. Attention was spent. Nothing valuable was created. That's the key. Distraction feels harmless because the cost is invisible. The bill arrives later. Think about unnecessary drama. Some people spend years involved in problems that do not belong to them. Someone said something. Someone posted something. Someone started an argument. Someone created gossip. And suddenly hours of emotional energy disappear. Why? Because attention was captured. Attention was stolen. Attention was redirected. The problem with drama is not the drama itself. The problem is what it prevents. While you're focused on chaos, you're not focused on progress. While you're focused on gossip, you're not focused on growth. While you're focused on other people's problems, you're not solving your own. Where attention goes, life follows. You have a choice. Feed your mission. Or feed distractions. Feed your future. Or feed meaningless noise. Every day you choose. Most people choose unconsciously. Successful people choose deliberately. That is the difference. Now let's talk about notifications. One notification. Then another. Then another. A vibration. A sound. A pop-up. A message. Each one seems small. But every interruption breaks momentum. Every interruption fractures focus. Every interruption forces your brain to restart. You cannot build greatness with fragmented attention. You cannot create excellence while constantly distracted. You cannot produce meaningful work if your mind never settles. It's not about intelligence. It's about discipline. It's not about talent. It's about discipline. It's not about potential. It's about discipline. Discipline means deciding what deserves your attention and what does not. That's the key. The highest performers in the world understand something most people ignore. Focus is not about saying yes. Focus is about saying no. No to distractions. No to interruptions. No to meaningless conversations. No to unnecessary commitments. No to activities that steal energy without producing results. Every yes costs something. Every yes requires attention. Choose carefully. Because where attention goes, life follows. Now consider meaningless arguments. How many people waste days trying to win debates that do not matter? Arguing online. Arguing with strangers. Arguing with people committed to misunderstanding them. Arguing over issues that change absolutely nothing about their lives. Ask yourself a simple question. Will this matter in 5 years? If the answer is no, why are you investing your attention into it today? Attention is precious. Treat it that way. Imagine someone handed you $10 million. Would you throw it into random places every day? Of course not. You would protect it. You would invest it carefully. You would manage it intelligently. Yet people waste attention every single day. Even though attention is what creates the life they want. That's the irony. The thing they need most is the thing they protect least. You don't need their permission to disconnect. You don't need their permission to set boundaries. You don't need their permission to become unavailable to distractions. Protecting your attention is not selfish. It is necessary. Because your goals require focus. Your future requires focus. Your growth requires focus. Nothing meaningful happens without sustained attention. Nothing. Every great achievement begins with concentration. A book is written through concentration. A business is built through concentration. A skill is mastered through concentration. A body is transformed through concentration. A life is changed through concentration. Where attention goes, life follows. The practical question becomes this: what should you do? Start simple. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Reduce meaningless screen time. Limit exposure to drama. Avoid pointless arguments. Schedule focused work sessions. Protect your mornings. Protect your evenings. Protect your mind. Create environments where focus becomes easier, not harder. You have a choice. You can continue reacting to everything, or you can start directing your attention intentionally. Reactive people drift. Focus people build. Reactive people consume. Focus people create. Reactive people chase distractions. Focus people chase purpose. That's the key. Every day, ask yourself one question. Did I control my attention today? Not my intentions. Not my excuses. Not my plans. My attention. Because your attention reveals your priorities. Not your words. Not your goals. Not your promises. Your attention. If you say your future matters but spend all day distracted, your attention is telling the truth. If you say your dreams matter but constantly choose entertainment over growth, your attention is telling the truth. Attention never lies. Where attention goes, life follows. Never forget that. Your future is not determined by what you occasionally focus on. It is determined by what consistently receives your attention. Protect it. Guard it. Direct it. Invest it wisely. Because the quality of your attention becomes the quality of your life. The people who accomplish extraordinary things are not always the smartest. They are not always the most talented. They are often the most focused. They understand that attention is power, and power must be protected. You have stopped living for approval. You have reclaimed your independence. Now you must learn to master the resource that determines every result you will ever achieve. Because focus creates progress, but consistency creates transformation. Chapter 4. Stop explaining yourself. There is a habit that quietly destroys momentum. A habit that steals energy. A habit that keeps people stuck. Most never recognize it. They think they are being responsible. They think they are being polite. They think they are being understood. But what they are actually doing is wasting precious time. The habit is this: constantly explaining yourself, constantly justifying your decisions, constantly seeking approval for your choices, constantly defending your direction. And every minute spent explaining is a minute not spent executing. That's the key. Less explanation, more execution. Remember that. Less explanation, more execution. Many people have a dream, a goal, a mission. But before they take action, they feel the need to explain it to everyone. They explain it to friends. They explain it to family. They explain it to coworkers. They explain it to strangers. They explain every detail, every reason, every possibility, every plan. Then something interesting happens. The energy that should have gone into execution gets spent on conversation. The momentum disappears. The action never happens. The dream stays a dream. You have a choice. Spend your energy explaining, or spend your energy building. The truth is simple. Most people are not asking for explanations because they care deeply about your success. They are asking because your choices make them uncomfortable. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your ambition reminds them of their excuses. Your discipline reminds them of their lack of discipline. So they question. They challenge. They criticize. They doubt. And suddenly you feel pressure to defend yourself. Do not fall into that trap. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You don't need universal understanding. You need action. That's the key. Less explanation, more execution. Look at the most successful people in any field. The builders, the creators, the leaders, the innovators. They spend very little time convincing people. Instead, they spend their time working, creating, improving, executing. They understand something powerful. Results are the strongest argument in the world. Not words. Results. A person says they are going to get in shape. They talk about workouts. They discuss diets. They explain plans. They announce goals. Months pass. Nothing changes. Another person says almost nothing. They simply train. Day after day. Week after week. Month after month. Then the results appear. One person talked. The other executed. Who made progress? That's the key. Less explanation, more execution. The same thing happens in business. Some people spend years telling everyone about the company they are going to build, the app they are going to launch, the idea they are going to pursue, the opportunity they are going to create. Everything is future tense. Everything is coming soon. Everything is talk. Meanwhile, someone else quietly starts. Quietly learns. Quietly fails. Quietly improves. Quietly grows. A few years later, the difference becomes obvious. One person collected conversations. The other collected results. Your future is built by execution, not explanation. Never forget that. One reason people over-explain is fear. Fear of criticism. Fear of rejection. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of judgment. They hope that if they explain enough, everyone will agree. Everyone will support them. Everyone will understand. But life does not work that way. Some people will never understand your vision. Some people will never support your mission. Some people will never see what you see. And that's okay. Your responsibility is not to convince them. Your responsibility is to do the work. You have a choice. Chase understanding. Or chase progress. Seek validation. Or seek results. Defend your goals. Or achieve your goals. Less explanation. More execution. Think about how much energy gets wasted trying to justify decisions. Why you're starting a business. Why you're changing careers. Why you're waking up early. Why you're spending less time socializing. Why you're learning new skills. Why you're pursuing a bigger future. Every explanation requires energy. Every defense requires attention. Every justification requires focus. And focus is too valuable to waste. Where attention goes, life follows. You learned that in the last chapter. Now apply it here. If your attention is constantly directed toward defending your choices, it is not directed toward improving your life. That's the key. The strongest people understand something most people never learn. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Read that again. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people deserve results. Some people deserve boundaries. Some people deserve silence. And some people deserve nothing at all. Your life becomes simpler when you stop feeling responsible for everyone's opinion. You don't need their permission. You don't need their approval. You don't need their agreement. You need commitment. Commitment to your mission. Commitment to your discipline. Commitment to your future. It's not about convincing. It's about discipline. It's not about defending. It's about discipline. It's not about explaining. It's about discipline. The need to constantly explain often comes from insecurity. A person who truly believes in their path does not spend all day defending it. They walk it. A person who truly believes in their mission does not spend all day announcing it. They pursue it. A person who truly believes in their future does not need endless approval. They work quietly. Consistently, relentlessly, less explanation, more execution. Now, this does not mean becoming arrogant. It does not mean refusing feedback. It does not mean ignoring wisdom. There is a difference between listening and seeking permission. Listen to wise advice. Learn from experience. Accept useful feedback. But do not become dependent on approval. Those are two different things. One creates growth. The other creates paralysis. That's the key. The practical question becomes simple. What should you do? Stop announcing every goal. Start working on it. Stop defending every decision. Start executing it. Stop explaining your vision to people committed to misunderstanding it. Start proving it through action. Let your habits speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your discipline speak. Let your results speak. Because results speak a language that nobody can argue with. A stronger body speaks. A growing business speaks. A developed skill speaks. A transformed life speaks. Results eliminate debates. Results eliminate excuses. Results eliminate doubt. Less explanation. More execution. Every morning ask yourself one question. What deserves my energy today? Talking about my goals? Or pursuing them? Explaining my future? Or building it? Defending my choices? Or improving my life? The answer should be obvious. Execution wins. Every single time. You have a choice. You can spend your life convincing people. Or you can spend your life becoming undeniable. One path leads to frustration. The other leads to progress. One path depends on opinions. The other depends on discipline. One path creates noise. The other creates results. Choose wisely. Because the world is full of people explaining what they are going to do. Very few are actually doing it. Become one of the few. Less explanation. More execution. Less talking. More building. Less defending. More creating. Less announcing. More accomplishing. That's the key. The moment you stop seeking permission to pursue your mission, your energy returns to where it belongs. Your focus sharpens. Your actions increase. Your results begin to compound. And once execution becomes your language, you are ready to master the habit that separates dreamers from achievers. Chapter 5. Build a mind that doesn't break. Life is going to test you. Not once. Not twice. Again and again. There will be setbacks. There will be failures. There will be criticism. There will be rejection. There will be uncertainty. None of these are exceptions. They are part of the process. That's the key. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid difficulty. They want a path without obstacles, a journey without setbacks, a dream without sacrifice. But that path does not exist. The question is not whether hardship will come. The question is who you become when it does. You have a choice. You can let challenges stop you, or you can let challenges strengthen you. You can break under pressure, or you can build under pressure. Keep moving forward. Remember that. Keep moving forward. Mental toughness is one of the most misunderstood qualities in the world. People think toughness means never feeling fear, never feeling doubt, never feeling pain. That is not toughness. That is fantasy. Real. Mental toughness means functioning despite fear, acting despite doubt, moving despite discomfort. That's the key. It is not about avoiding hardship. It is about continuing through hardship. Keep moving forward. Think about every successful person you admire, every leader, every creator, every entrepreneur, every athlete, every high achiever. Do you think they avoided failure? Of course not. They experienced more failure than most people ever will. The difference is simple. They did not stop. While others quit, they continued. While others complained, they adapted. While others focused on problems, they focused on solutions. Keep moving forward. Most people treat failure as a verdict. Successful people treat failure as feedback. That single mindset shift changes everything. A failed project is feedback. A rejected application is feedback. A bad decision is feedback. A mistake is feedback. Feedback helps you improve. Quitting guarantees you never will. You have a choice. Interpret failure as proof that you cannot succeed, or interpret failure as information that helps you succeed. One mindset creates growth. The other creates stagnation. That's the key. Consider rejection. Few experiences discourage people more. A rejected idea, a rejected opportunity, a rejected proposal, a rejected application. Most people take rejection personally. They assume rejection means they are not good enough, not capable enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough. But rejection often means something much simpler. Wrong timing, wrong fit, wrong audience, wrong approach. Nothing more. The danger is not rejection itself. The danger is what happens after rejection. Many people stop trying. They withdraw. They retreat. They surrender. That is where dreams die. Not during rejection. After it. Keep moving forward. One rejection means nothing. 10 rejections mean nothing. 100 rejections mean nothing. The only rejection that truly matters is the one that causes you to reject yourself. Never do that. You don't need their permission. You don't need universal acceptance. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need persistence. That's the key. Now let's talk about criticism. Another challenge that breaks weak minds. Some people become completely paralyzed by criticism. One negative comment, one negative opinion, one negative review, And suddenly they question everything. Their confidence disappears. Their momentum disappears. Their courage disappears. Why? Because they gave someone else's opinion too much power. Listen carefully. Criticism is unavoidable. If you do nothing, people criticize. If you try something new, people criticize. If you fail, people criticize. If you succeed, people criticize. You cannot escape criticism. So stop trying. Instead, focus on your mission. Keep moving forward. The goal is not to avoid criticism. The goal is to become strong enough that criticism no longer controls your behavior. It's not about approval. It's about discipline. It's not about comfort. It's about discipline. It's not about perfection. It's about discipline. Discipline keeps moving when emotions fluctuate. Discipline keeps working when motivation disappears. Discipline keeps showing up when circumstances become difficult. That is real toughness. Now consider uncertainty. Most people fear uncertainty because they crave guarantees. They want certainty before they act. Certainty before they invest. Certainty before they begin. Certainty before they commit. But certainty rarely comes first. Action comes first. Clarity comes later. That's the key. The entrepreneur does not know exactly how the business will unfold. The author does not know exactly how the book will perform. The athlete does not know exactly how the competition will end. Yet they move anyway. Because progress belongs to those who act despite uncertainty. Keep moving forward. One of the strongest mental habits you can develop is refusing to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Think about that. A bad day is temporary. A setback is temporary. A disappointment is temporary. An emotional low point is temporary. Do not allow temporary feelings to destroy long-term goals. When emotions rise, stay disciplined. When emotions fall, stay disciplined. When conditions improve, stay disciplined. When conditions worsen, stay disciplined. Discipline creates stability, and stability creates resilience. You have a choice. React emotionally, or respond intentionally. The stronger option is always intentional action. Another important lesson. Stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question changes everything. Victims focus on unfairness. Builders focus on lessons. Victims focus on obstacles. Builders focus on adaptation. Victims focus on excuses. Builders focus on solutions. That's the key. Every challenge contains instruction. Every setback contains information. Every difficulty contains opportunity. But only if you remain in motion long enough to find it. Keep moving forward. The strongest minds are not those who never struggle. The strongest minds are those who refuse to surrender during struggle. They understand something powerful. Pain is temporary. Growth lasts. Discomfort is temporary. Strength lasts. Failure is temporary. Wisdom lasts. Keep moving forward. Every day. Remind yourself of this truth. You are stronger than a bad day. Stronger than a setback. Stronger than a mistake. Stronger than rejection. Stronger than criticism. Stronger than uncertainty. Not because you never experienced them. Because you refuse to let them define you. That's the key. When life becomes difficult, simplify your focus. Take the next step. Then the next. Then the next. Do not worry about the entire journey. Just continue moving. Consistency beats intensity. Persistence beats perfection. Resilience beats talent. Keep moving. Forward. Again. Keep moving forward. No matter how slow. No matter how difficult. No matter how uncertain. Keep moving forward. Because every meaningful achievement requires endurance. Every dream requires resilience. Every transformation requires toughness. The people who succeed are rarely those who avoid hardship. They are the ones who continue despite it. You have a choice. Quit when life gets difficult. Or become stronger because it gets difficult. One choice creates regret. The other creates growth. Choose growth. Choose resilience. Choose persistence. Choose action. And above all else, keep moving forward. You have learned to focus your attention. You have stopped seeking permission. You have developed the resilience to withstand setbacks. Now it is time to master the force that quietly determines whether all of that effort compounds or disappears. Chapter 6. Learn to be alone without being lonely. Most people are afraid of silence. Not because silence is dangerous. Because silence is honest. When the noise disappears, there is nowhere left to hide. No distractions. No entertainment. No constant stimulation. Just you. Your thoughts. Your habits. Your choices. Your reality. And for many people, that is uncomfortable. That's the key. The reason so many people stay distracted is because distraction protects them from self-examination. As long as the television is on, as long as the phone is scrolling, as long as the notifications keep coming, as long as the noise never stops, they never have to face themselves. But growth begins when the noise ends. Growth begins when the excuses disappear. Growth begins when you are willing to sit alone with your own thoughts. You have a choice. Run from yourself. Or understand yourself. Avoid solitude. Or use solitude. One path creates confusion. The other creates clarity. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Remember that. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Many people confuse solitude with loneliness. They are not the same thing. Loneliness is feeling disconnected. Solitude is choosing space for growth. Loneliness drains energy. Solitude creates energy. Loneliness weakens confidence. Solitude builds confidence. Loneliness feels empty. Solitude becomes productive. That's the key. The strongest people in the world know how to be alone. Not forever. Not constantly. But intentionally. They understand that periods of solitude are necessary for development. Athletes understand this. Champions spend countless hours training alone, practicing alone, recovering alone, preparing alone, long before the crowd applauds. They learn to work in silence. Entrepreneurs understand this. Many of the most important business decisions happen in isolation. Not during meetings. Not during conversations. But during quiet moments of reflection. Thinkers understand this. Writers understand this. Creators understand this. The ability to spend time alone is often what allows them to create something valuable. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Most breakthroughs happen in silence. Not in noise. Not in chaos. Not in constant stimulation. Silence creates space. And space creates awareness. Awareness changes everything. Because you cannot improve what you refuse to examine. That's the key. When you spend time alone, you begin noticing things. You notice habits. You notice patterns. You notice weaknesses. You notice strengths. You notice where your life is aligned and where it is not. That awareness becomes power. Without awareness, growth is impossible. You cannot solve problems you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot improve areas you refuse to examine. You cannot transform a life you never stop to evaluate. You have a choice. Stay busy or become aware. Stay distracted or become intentional. Stay entertained or become transformed. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Another gift of solitude is clarity. Most people are overwhelmed because they never stop processing information. Their minds are constantly crowded. Messages, videos, opinions, news, notifications, conversations, advice, noise, so much noise. And eventually they lose their ability to hear themselves think. They know what everyone else believes, but they no longer know what they believe. They know what everyone else wants, but they no longer know what they want. Silence solves that problem. Silence creates clarity. When the noise disappears, priorities become visible. Goals become clearer. Decisions become easier. Purpose becomes stronger. That's the key. Many people are searching for answers, when what they actually need is quiet. The answer may already exist inside them, but they cannot hear it because life is too loud. Another powerful benefit of solitude is confidence. Real Confidence does not come from constant validation. It comes from self-trust. And self-trust is developed through time spent with yourself. If you cannot enjoy your own company, you will become dependent on everyone else's. That dependence creates weakness. The need for constant attention creates weakness. The inability to be alone creates weakness. Because now your emotional state depends on external circumstances. That's dangerous. You don't need their permission to enjoy your own company. You don't need constant validation to feel valuable. You don't need constant attention to feel complete. That's the key. The more comfortable you become alone, the less desperate you become for approval. The less desperate you become for approval, the stronger your decisions become. The stronger your decisions become, the stronger your future becomes. Everything is connected. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Now let's be practical. What should you actually do? Schedule periods of intentional solitude. Take walks without your phone. Sit quietly without entertainment. Write in a journal. Think deeply. Reflect honestly. Ask difficult questions. Where am I wasting time? What habits are holding me back? What goals matter most? What kind of person am I becoming? Most people avoid these questions. Strong people confront them. Because uncomfortable questions create powerful answers. You have a choice. Escape reality. Or examine reality. Avoid discomfort. Or grow through discomfort. Ignore your life. Or improve your life. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. One of the greatest advantages of solitude is creativity. Creative solutions rarely appear when your attention is fragmented. Ideas require space. Innovation requires space. Insight requires space. Many people complain that they lack direction, but they never create the conditions necessary for direction to appear. They consume all day, react all day, scroll all day, then wonder why clarity never arrives. Clarity requires silence. That's the key. The strongest minds alternate between action and reflection. Action and reflection. Action and reflection. They work hard. Then they think deeply. They move forward. Then they evaluate. They execute. Then they adjust. This rhythm creates wisdom. Without reflection, activity becomes reckless. Without action, reflection becomes useless. You need both. But most people only focus on one. The goal is balance, intentional balance, productive balance, powerful balance. Isolation can build what distraction destroys. Never forget that. The ability to be alone is not a weakness. It is a superpower. Because when you are comfortable alone, you stop making decisions from desperation. You stop chasing attention. You stop fearing silence. You stop avoiding yourself. Instead, you begin building yourself. That is where confidence grows. That is where clarity grows. That is where discipline grows. That is where transformation grows. You have a choice. Fear, solitude, or use it. Avoid silence, or learn from it. Run from yourself, or develop yourself. One path leads to distraction. The other leads to strength. Choose strength. Choose awareness. Choose reflection. Choose growth. Because isolation can build what distraction destroys. And when you learn to stand comfortably in your own company, something remarkable happens. You stop depending on the world to tell you who you are. You begin deciding for yourself. You have learned to protect your attention. You have learned to withstand adversity. You have learned the value of silence and self-reflection. Now it is time to master the force that determines whether all of this wisdom becomes reality. Chapter 7. Discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Most people are waiting to feel inspired, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect time, the perfect circumstances. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Days disappear. Years vanish. Dreams remain unfinished. That's the key. The biggest mistake most people make is believing that motivation creates success. It doesn't. Motivation creates a beginning. Discipline creates an outcome. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is reliable. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Motivation depends on feelings. Discipline depends on decisions. That is why discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Remember that. Discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Think about your own life. How often have you felt motivated? How often have you watched a powerful video? Read an inspiring book? Listen to an encouraging message? For a moment you felt unstoppable. You felt energized, focused, ready to change your life. Then what happened? A few days passed. The feeling faded. The excitement disappeared. The motivation left. And the old habits returned. Why? Because motivation is an emotion. And emotions are unstable. That's the key. If your success depends on how you feel, your success will always be inconsistent. You have a choice. Build your future on feelings, or build it on discipline. One is fragile. The other is dependable. Do it anyway. That simple phrase has the power to transform your life. You don't feel like working? Do it anyway. You don't feel like training? Do it anyway. You don't feel like learning? Do it anyway. You don't feel like improving? Do it anyway. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not always more motivated. They are more disciplined. They act despite their moods. They act despite their emotions. They act despite their excuses. Do it anyway. Look at fitness. Everyone wants the results. Everyone wants strength, energy, confidence, health. But very few people enjoy every workout. Very few people wake up every morning excited to train. The difference is not motivation. The difference is discipline. The disciplined person understands something powerful. Results come after the work, not before it. They do not negotiate with their emotions. They do not ask themselves whether they feel like exercising. They simply show up. Again. And again. And again. Do it anyway. The same principle applies to business. Entrepreneurs are not successful because they wake up inspired every day. Many days are difficult. Many days are frustrating. Many days are uncertain. Yet they continue. They make the calls. They solve the problems. They improve the systems. They move forward. Not because they feel like it. Because they committed to it. That's the key. Discipline is keeping a promise to yourself long after the excitement disappears. Think about skill development, learning a language, mastering a craft, building expertise. No one becomes exceptional overnight. Excellence is built through repetition. 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 Most days are not exciting. Most days are ordinary. Most days are simply another opportunity to practice. The disciplined person embraces that reality. The undisciplined person resists it. One improves. The other stays the same. Do it anyway. Many people underestimate the power of daily habits. They look for dramatic changes, massive breakthroughs, instant results. But success rarely works that way. Success is often boring, predictable, consistent. A small action repeated every day becomes a powerful force. A daily workout, a daily study session, a daily business task, a daily improvement. Small actions compound. That's the key. People overestimate what they can do in a day, and underestimate what they can do in a year. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create confidence. Confidence creates even more action. Everything starts with discipline. You have a choice. Focus on intensity, or focus on consistency. Intensity feels impressive. Consistency changes lives. Anyone can work hard for one day. Few people can work steadily for 1 year. Anyone can be motivated occasionally. Few people can remain disciplined consistently. Become one of the few. Do it anyway. One reason discipline is so powerful is because it removes decision fatigue. The disciplined person does not debate every action. They create routines, systems, standards, rules. The workout happens. The work gets done. The study session occurs. Not because they constantly feel inspired. Because it is part of the system. That's the key. Systems outperform intentions. Every time. People with weak systems rely on motivation. People with strong systems rely on habits. Habits require less energy, less willpower, less emotional negotiation. The goal is not to make success easier. The goal is to make success automatic. It's not about motivation. It's about discipline. It's not about excitement. It's about discipline. It's not about feelings. It's about discipline. The disciplined person understands a truth most people ignore. You do not have to enjoy every step to benefit from every step. Read that again. You do not have to enjoy every step to benefit from every step. Many valuable activities are uncomfortable. Many important actions require effort. Many life-changing habits feel difficult in the beginning. Do them anyway. The reward comes later. Another lesson. Stop asking yourself how you feel. Start asking yourself what needs to be done. That question changes everything. Feelings are temporary. Responsibilities are real. Goals are real. Commitments are real. Future consequences are real. You have a choice. Serve your moods. Or serve your mission. Serve your emotions. Or serve your future. One path creates excuses. The other creates results. Do it anyway. The strongest people are not those with the most talent. They are not those with the most luck. They are not those with the easiest circumstances. They are often the people who mastered one simple skill: showing up. Day after day. Week after week. Month after month. Year after year. Even when they did not feel like it. Especially when they did not feel like it. That's the key. Success is rarely built during your best days. It is built during the days when you wanted to quit but continued. The days when motivation disappeared, but discipline remained. The days when excuses appeared but action won. Those are the days that shape your future. Do it anyway. Every morning, remember this. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need perfect motivation. You do not need perfect confidence. You need action. Consistent action. Disciplined action. Purposeful action. You don't need their permission. You don't need ideal circumstances. You don't need endless inspiration. You need commitment. Because commitment survives when motivation disappears. And discipline survives when commitment is tested. The people who build remarkable lives understand this truth. They stop waiting. They stop wishing. They stop negotiating. They start acting. Again and again. Do it anyway. When you're tired, do it anyway. When you're uncertain, do it anyway. When you're discouraged, do it anyway. When you're not in the mood, do it anyway. Because discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Never forget that. You have learned to stand alone. You have learned to protect your focus. You have learned to keep moving through hardship. Now it is time to discover the hidden force that multiplies every effort and determines the direction of your entire life. Chapter 8. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Most people are waiting for more confidence, waiting for more knowledge, waiting for more certainty, waiting for better timing, waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for the perfect moment. And while they wait, life keeps moving. Opportunities disappear. Doors close. Time passes. Potential fades. Dreams remain unfinished. That's the key. The perfect moment is one of the most expensive illusions in life. It does not exist. Never has. Never will. Yet millions of people build their entire future around waiting for it. They tell themselves the same story. I'll start when I'm ready. I'll begin when I know more. I'll take action when everything is perfect. But readiness is not what creates action. Action creates readiness. Remember that. Action creates readiness. Most people have it backward. They believe confidence comes before action. In reality, confidence comes from action. They believe clarity comes before action. In reality, clarity comes from action. They believe success comes before action. In reality, success comes from action. Start now. Improve later. That's the key. Perfectionism is often praised. People call it high standards. People call it excellence. People call it attention to detail. But many times, perfectionism is something else entirely. Fear. Fear disguised as preparation. Fear disguised as planning. Fear disguised as caution. Fear disguised as responsibility. The perfectionist keeps preparing, keeps researching, keeps analyzing, keeps waiting, but rarely begins. Why? Because beginning creates risk. Beginning creates uncertainty. Beginning creates the possibility of failure. And that is what they are truly trying to avoid. You have a choice. Pursue progress. Or pursue perfection. One creates momentum. The other creates paralysis. Start now. Improve later. Think about how many opportunities disappear because of hesitation. A person wants to start a business. They spend years researching, years planning, years preparing, years waiting. Meanwhile, someone else starts. Not perfectly, not confidently, not completely prepared. But they start. Years later, one person has experience. The other still has excuses. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was action. That's the key. The same thing happens with fitness. Many people spend weeks searching for the perfect workout, the perfect diet, the perfect strategy, the perfect routine. Meanwhile, someone else simply begins. They walk. They train. They improve. They adjust. They learn through experience. Months later, one person has results. The other has information. Results come from action, not endless preparation. Start now. Improve later. The same principle applies to skill development. Writers become writers by writing, not by endlessly studying writing. Speakers become speakers by speaking, not by endlessly studying communication. Entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs by building, not by endlessly consuming business content. Every skill develops through repetition, not hesitation. Every skill improves through practice, not perfection. You have a choice. Learn through action, or remain trapped in theory. One path creates growth, the other creates delay. Most people underestimate the cost of waiting. They think waiting is neutral. It isn't. Waiting has consequences. Every day you postpone action, you lose time. Every day you delay a goal, you delay the benefits. Every day you hesitate, someone else moves forward. Time keeps moving, whether you act or not. That's the key. The clock does not pause while you overthink. The future does not wait while you prepare endlessly. Life rewards movement, not hesitation. One of the most powerful truths you can understand is this: you do not need to see the entire path. You only need to take the next step. That's all. The next step. Most people become overwhelmed because they try to solve the entire journey before taking the first action. They want every answer, every detail, every guarantee, every outcome, before they begin. But that is impossible. No one has all the answers in the beginning. No one. The people you admire started with uncertainty. The people you admire started with incomplete knowledge. The people you admire started before they felt ready. Start now. Improve later. That's how progress works. You don't need their permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need complete certainty. You need courage. Not the courage to guarantee success. The courage to begin despite uncertainty. That is real courage. It's not about perfection. It's about discipline. It's not about certainty. It's about discipline. It's not about readiness. It's about discipline. Discipline acts before emotions agree. Discipline moves before confidence appears. Discipline starts before conditions become ideal. That's the key. Many people believe mistakes are the enemy. They are wrong. Inaction is the enemy. Mistakes can teach. Mistakes can guide. Mistakes can improve you. Inaction teaches nothing. The person who starts and fails learns more than the person who never starts at all. Failure contains lessons. Delay contains regret. Choose lessons, not regret. You have a choice. Be imperfect and moving, or perfect and stationary. One path creates growth. The other creates frustration. Start now. Improve later. Another reason people hesitate is because they fear looking foolish. They fear being a beginner. They fear making mistakes publicly. They fear criticism. But every expert was once a beginner. Every professional was once inexperienced. Every master was once terrible. The difference is simple. They were willing to be bad long enough to become good. Most people are unwilling to endure that phase. That is why they never grow. Growth requires humility. Growth requires patience. Growth requires action, not perfection. Start now. Improve later. Every day, ask yourself one question. What am I postponing that I already know I should begin? The answer will reveal your next opportunity. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a skill. Maybe it's a project. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's a change you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, stop waiting. The perfect moment is not coming. The perfect circumstances are not coming. The perfect version of you is not coming. The future belongs to those who move first, not those who wait longest. That's the key. The most successful people in the world are rarely the most prepared. They are often the most willing to act. They understand a simple truth. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates progress. Progress creates results. Everything begins with action. Start now. Improve later. Again. Start now. Improve later. When you feel uncertain. Start now. Improve later. When you feel unprepared. Start now. Improve later. When you feel afraid. Start now. Improve later. Because waiting has never built a dream. Waiting has never changed a life. Waiting has never created success. Action has. You have learned to focus. You have learned discipline. You have learned resilience. Now you understand that progress belongs to those who move before they feel ready. The next lesson will determine whether your actions create temporary results or permanent transformation. Chapter 9. Become addicted to progress. Most people are obsessed with outcomes. The promotion, the business, the money, the transformation, the success, the destination. They stare so intensely at the finish line that they completely ignore the path leading to it. And that is exactly why so many people quit. Because big goals can feel overwhelming. Big goals can feel distant. Big goals can feel impossible. That's the key. Success is rarely built by focusing on the finish line. Success is built by focusing on today's progress. Win today. Remember that. Win today. Not next year. Not someday. Not eventually. Today. The future is created one day at a time. Nothing more. Nothing less. Most people underestimate the power of small improvements. They think success requires dramatic change, massive effort, extraordinary breakthroughs. But Real transformation usually happens differently. It happens quietly, gradually, consistently, one improvement at a time, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. When today, think about a professional athlete. They do not become elite through one incredible workout. They become elite through thousands of ordinary workouts. One training session, then another, then another. The daily effort compounds. The daily discipline compounds. The daily improvement compounds. Eventually, people see greatness. But greatness was built long before it became visible. That's the key. Extraordinary results are often the product of ordinary actions repeated consistently. The same thing happens in business. People see successful companies and assume success happened quickly. They notice the result. They do not notice the years of consistent effort, the long days, the difficult decisions, the constant improvements, the relentless execution. Every successful business is built through accumulation. One customer, then another. One improvement, then another. One lesson, then another. Momentum grows slowly before it grows quickly. When today, most people struggle because they want immediate results, immediate success, immediate recognition, immediate rewards. But progress rarely works on demand. Progress rewards patience. Progress rewards consistency. Progress rewards discipline. That's why consistency beats intensity. Every time. You have a choice. Go all out for 3 days. Or stay committed for 3 years. One creates excitement. The other creates transformation. Anyone can be intense temporarily. Few people can be consistent permanently. Become one of the few. When today, let's talk about momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. When you make progress, you want to continue. When you see improvement, you become motivated. When you keep promises to yourself, confidence grows. Momentum creates energy. Momentum creates belief. Momentum creates action. But momentum must be earned. It begins with small victories. That's the key. People often wait for motivation before they act. Successful people act before they feel motivated. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates motivation. Not the other way around. Think about pushing a heavy object. The beginning is difficult. The first movement requires effort. The first steps require effort. But once momentum develops, movement becomes easier. Life works the same way. The hardest part is often getting started. After that, consistency takes over. When today, a common mistake is focusing too much on distant outcomes. A person wants to lose 50 pounds. A person wants to earn $1 million. A person wants to master a skill. A person wants to transform their life. Those goals are fine. But they are too large. to focus on every day. Instead, focus on today's victory. The workout, the work session, the study hour, the healthy meal, the productive habit, the small improvement. That's where success lives. Not in the distant future. In today's actions. That's the key. The future is built through daily victories. Nothing else. One reason people fail is because they make success too complicated. They create massive plans, complex strategies, endless systems. Then they become overwhelmed. Keep it simple. Ask yourself one question. What would winning today look like? Maybe it means exercising. Maybe it means reading. Maybe it means finishing an important task. Maybe it means avoiding a bad habit. Maybe it means showing up when you don't feel like it. Whatever it is, do it. Win today. You don't need their permission. You don't need applause. You don't need recognition. You don't need anyone watching. Progress is valuable even when nobody notices. In fact, some of the most important progress happens in private. The workout nobody sees. The study session nobody applauds. The sacrifice nobody understands. The discipline nobody celebrates. Those moments matter. Those moments compound. Those moments build the future. Win today. Another lesson. Stop comparing your progress to someone else's. Comparison destroys momentum. Comparison creates frustration. Comparison creates impatience. Your journey belongs to you. Your timeline belongs to you. Your responsibility is not to be ahead of everyone else. Your responsibility is to be better than yesterday. That's the key. 1% better. One lesson smarter. One habit stronger. One decision wiser. Small improvements become remarkable results when repeated long enough. Most people quit because they do not see immediate progress. That is a mistake. Progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. Think about planting a seed. For a long time, nothing appears to happen. No visible growth. No visible reward. No visible result. But beneath the surface, development is taking place. Roots are growing. Strength is developing. Foundations are forming. Eventually, visible growth appears. The same thing happens with success. Trust the process. Trust the repetition. Trust the discipline. Win today. It's not about perfection. It's about discipline. It's not about intensity. It's about discipline. It's not about occasional effort. It's about discipline. Discipline creates consistency. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create confidence. And confidence creates even more action. Everything is connected. You have a choice. Focus on what you cannot control. Or focus on today's actions. Focus on distant outcomes. Or focus on daily victories. Focus on someday. Or focus on today. One creates anxiety. The other creates progress. Choose progress. Every morning, begin with a simple challenge. Win today. Not the month. Not the year. Not the decade. Today. Complete the workout. Finish the task. Honor the commitment. Keep the promise. Make the improvement. Win today. Then tomorrow, do it again. And again. And again. Because success is rarely one giant decision. Success is thousands of small decisions made correctly. The person who wins today repeatedly eventually wins the year. The person who wins the year repeatedly eventually wins the decade. The person who wins the decade repeatedly eventually builds an extraordinary life. That's the key. Become addicted to progress. Become addicted to improvement. Become addicted to keeping promises to yourself. Not because progress is always exciting. Because progress creates freedom. Progress creates confidence. Progress creates momentum. And momentum changes everything. Win today. No matter how small the victory. Win today. No matter how difficult the circumstances. Win today. No matter how long the journey. Win today. Because the future is not created tomorrow. The future is created today. You have learned discipline. You have learned resilience. You have learned to take action before you feel ready. Now it is time to confront the final illusion that keeps people trapped in ordinary lives and discover what truly separates those who dream from those who become unstoppable. Chapter 10. Become unstoppable. You have reached this point for a reason. Not because life suddenly became easier. Not because obstacles disappeared. Not because challenges stopped existing. You are here because you kept going. And that is where this final lesson begins. Most people misunderstand what it means to be unstoppable. They imagine someone fearless. Someone who never struggles. Someone who never doubts themselves. Someone who never fails. Someone who never falls. That person does not exist. That's the key. Unstoppable people are not fearless. They are persistent. Unstoppable people are not perfect. They are disciplined. Unstoppable people are not immune to setbacks. They simply refuse to quit. Remember that. They refuse to quit. This entire journey has been preparing you for one truth. Success is not built by talent alone. Success is not built by intelligence alone. Success is not built by luck alone. Success is built by a mindset, a way of thinking, a way of acting, a way of living. And that mindset can be summarized in 3 words: focus, discipline, progress. Focus, discipline, progress. Those are not just words. They are a blueprint, a philosophy, a new identity. Because identity changes everything. Most people focus on what they want. Very few focus on who they must become. That's the key. You do not become successful because you occasionally make good decisions. You become successful because good decisions become part of your identity. You become the person who shows up, the person who follows through, the person who keeps promises, the person who continues when others stop. Focus, discipline, progress. Think about everything you have learned. You stopped watching other people's lives. You stopped seeking validation. You protected your attention. You stopped explaining yourself. You learned resilience. You embraced solitude. You developed discipline. You stopped waiting for perfect conditions. You became addicted to progress. Each lesson was building something. Not a goal. Not a result. A person. You. That's the key. Because results come and go. But identity remains. If you become the right person, results eventually follow. If you only chase results without changing yourself, the success rarely lasts. Focus, discipline, progress. Now let's talk about obstacles. Because they are coming. Not might come. Will come. Life guarantees challenges. Unexpected setbacks. Unexpected failures. Unexpected disappointments. Unexpected losses. The question is never whether obstacles will appear. The question is how you will respond. Most people see obstacles as reasons to stop. Unstoppable people see obstacles as reasons to adapt. That difference changes everything. One person encounters resistance and quits. Another encounters resistance and grows stronger. One person sees difficulty as proof they should stop. Another sees difficulty as proof they are developing. You have a choice. Use obstacles as excuses. Or use obstacles as fuel. One creates weakness. The other creates strength. Focus. Discipline. Progress. When things become difficult, focus becomes more important. Not less. When things become uncertain, discipline becomes more important. Not less. When things become frustrating, progress becomes more important. Not less. This is where most people fail. They abandon their principles during hard times. They abandon discipline. They abandon consistency. They abandon focus. Then they wonder why everything falls apart. That's the key. The habits that create success are the same. Habits that protect success. Keep them. Protect them. Strengthen them. Especially when life becomes difficult. Remember the phrase that carried you through this journey. Keep moving forward. Not because every day is easy. Because every day matters. Keep moving forward. Not because every step is perfect. Because every step counts. Keep moving forward. Not because progress is always visible. Because progress is always possible. Focus. discipline, progress. The truth is simple. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need perfect confidence. You do not need perfect knowledge. You do not need perfect timing. Most people waste years trying to become ready. But readiness is earned through action, not waiting. You learn that. Start now. Improve later. That lesson never stops being true. You don't need their permission. You don't need approval. You don't need validation. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You need commitment. Commitment to your growth. Commitment to your future. Commitment to your standards. That's the key. The strongest people are often the ones who learn to trust themselves. Not blindly. Not arrogantly. But consistently. They trust themselves to keep going. They trust themselves to adapt. They trust themselves to recover. They trust themselves to learn. That self-trust becomes power. And power creates freedom. Focus. Discipline. Progress. Now imagine your life 5 years from today. Not the life built by excuses. Not the life built by hesitation. Not the life built by distraction. The life built by daily discipline. The life built by focused effort. The life built by relentless progress. What would be different? Your health? Your finances? Your confidence? Your relationships? Your mindset? Everything changes when your habits change. Everything changes when your standards change. Everything changes when your identity changes. That's the key. Transformation is not one decision. Transformation is thousands of decisions. Made repeatedly. Made consistently. Made intentionally. The world often celebrates dramatic moments. Big victories. Major achievements. Public success. But the real work happens privately. The early mornings. The difficult choices. The silent sacrifices. The disciplined actions nobody sees. That is where unstoppable people are built. Not in front of crowds. Not during applause. In private. One decision at a time. Focus. Discipline. Progress. If you forget everything else from this audiobook, remember this. You become what you repeatedly do. Not what you occasionally think about. Not what you occasionally plan. Not what you occasionally dream about. What you repeatedly do. Your actions shape your identity. Your identity shapes your future. Your future shapes your life. Everything begins with today's choices. You have a choice. Right now. Today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Will you return to distraction? Or pursue focus? Will you return to excuses? Or pursue discipline? Will you return to hesitation? Or pursue progress? The decision belongs to you. And it always has. That's the key. Nobody can make that choice for you. Nobody can walk your path for you. Nobody can build your future for you. But nobody can stop you either. Not if you refuse to quit. Not if you refuse to surrender. Not if you refuse to abandon your mission. Because unstoppable is not a gift. It is a decision. A decision made repeatedly. Day after day. Challenge after challenge. Year after year. Focus. Discipline. Progress. Again. Focus. Discipline. Progress. Let those words become your standard. Let those words become your mindset. Let those words become your identity. Because the person who embraces them no longer waits for opportunity, creates it, no longer depends on motivation, acts anyway, no longer fears obstacles, uses them, no longer quits when life gets difficult, keeps moving forward. And that is what it means to become unstoppable. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new standard, a new identity, a new way of living. From this moment forward, remember the philosophy that changes everything. Focus, discipline, progress, and never stop moving forward. Closing. Focus on yourself. Not because the world does not matter, but because your future depends on where your attention goes. Stop comparing. Stop explaining. Stop waiting. Stop seeking permission. Every distraction you eliminate creates more power. Every disciplined action builds more confidence. Every day you stay committed strengthens the person you are becoming. Remember this. You do not need everyone's approval. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need to know every step. You only need to keep moving forward. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not always the smartest. They are not always the most talented. They are simply the most focused. Focus when others are distracted. Work when others are watching. Build when others are complaining. Grow when others are doubting. And one day the life you once dreamed about will become your reality. Now here is your challenge. For the next 24 hours, eliminate one distraction, complete one difficult task you've been avoiding, and spend 1 hour investing in yourself. Then repeat it tomorrow. Because the moment you truly focus on yourself, nothing can stop you.